99.3 Nigeria Info. This is the big hard facts for today. And 4 minutes gone past the 5 o'clock hour, welcoming you to that topic that you've all been waiting for. Yes, I did talk about. Last week on October 8, the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, had lamented the Japa syndrome. Apparently, he was urging migrants to love Nigeria more than money. Yes. He said that the migration of Nigerians to other countries had negatively affected many sectors, particularly the education and health sectors in the country, which brings my guest into the conversation. But let me go further into this statement by the Senate President. He advised Nigerians to prioritize loving Nigeria above migrating abroad to seek greener pastures. He gave the advice during a plenary on Tuesday last week, commenting on a motion to address the Japa syndrome. And coincidentally, it's another Tuesday. My guest is here in the studio. Well, my guest used to live abroad. He's back in Nigeria. He's famous for a video that was trending last week, actually. He said Lagos will keep Lagosing. He's going to tell us exactly what that means. But Dr. Julius Oni is the CEO, DOC Medical Center here in Nigeria. He's also the Director, Global Orthopedics at Johns Hopkins. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I didn't think that you were going to say yes, but you were so excited and you said, oh, yes, I'd come. It's so good to have you join us in the studio.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Every Nigerian is trying to wonder, like, is he mad? What's he coming back to do in this country? But anyway, what do you mean? But let's start by, great. You are with Johns Hopkins, which is great. It's one of those remarkable medical institutions across the world.
Great institution.
Yeah,
sure.
I know. But then you decided to come back to Nigeria. Tell us, what's the story behind this?
Yeah, first off, thank you for inviting me on the program. But I'm a Nigerian through and through. I was born and raised here until I left to go to the U.S. in 1999. So
what was I then? I just graduated secondary school.
Okay, yeah. So I graduated in '98. So ever since I left, I've always had this yearning for the country. And even though I went through all of my schooling in the U.S. post-secondary school, and I've practiced as an orthopedic surgeon for the past 12 years. Over the last 10 years, actually, I've been back to Nigeria 4 times a year, doing work, checking out the landscape, and providing services to patients, collaborating with other folks, and either on the nonprofit side or teaching or things of that nature. So Nigeria is still near and dear to my heart. And at some point, I became an associate professor.
Ooh, nice.
was the fellowship director for joint replacement at Johns Hopkins. I still am the chair of the American Association of Hip and Knee Society Humanitarian Committee. I've done a few things, and
you've done well for yourself. You've done really well for yourself.
And I started to ask myself, hey, listen, how do you want to make impact? How do you want to create impact? When you're 80 years old and you're thinking back on life, if I'm lucky enough to be that age, how do I want to, what legacy do I want to leave? And it was clear to me that my vision was to improve, or at least contribute in significant ways to improving access to musculoskeletal care in undeserved countries, starting with Nigeria. So once I came up with that vision statement a few years ago, I started to work on the ways that I was going to make it happen. So I started to reverse engineer every step of what I needed to put in place to make that possible. And I figured out what I needed to do on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. And thankfully, I was able to pull it off.
Lovely. Again, I'm going to ask you, did you get any pushback? Like, did your family say, sure, I don't know how to say it in Yoruba, but are you all right?
Sure,
bye. Like, what are you doing? Please stay there or your life is better. Did you get any pushback, even from maybe like your partner,
So, actually, my partner was super supportive.
Oh, lovely.
She actually reminded me when I went back to her and said, listen, I gotta do this. And she was like, during our first date 11 years ago, you asked me if I would move back to Nigeria with you, if we were to get back together.
Yeah.
And she said, it's told you yes, I would, and so I'm not gonna sit now. And so yeah, so she's a
Nice.
true woman of her word, I suppose.
Well, great.
So yeah,
So tell me about your work as, I like to call them, bone doctors, because we have a lot of those cases, as you have come to understand. And just like the Senate president said, we're losing more people, especially in your sector, which is the medical sector. We see a lot of brain drain in that area. Doctors are leaving on a daily, and it's the game for the Middle East, the UK, and several other places that they're moving to
absolutely.
because they have better options, if you ask me. So what story would you possibly tell those guys who feel like they don't have, the right things to work with, the enabling environment, and that's why they're running? It's not like they're happier there, but unfortunately they have to.
First off, I completely understand the need for many of these people to seek better pastures in other places. I can't fault anyone for trying to learn how to practice at the top of their skill, right? So I'm not one to like discourage anyone from doing that. But I also do realize that to whom much is given, much is expected. And I've been fortunate to have been blessed, not only with great education, but also with, I've been fortunate to be at an institution where I've got a great platform to take care of a lot of patients. I've done thousands and thousands of the surgeries that I do, and to educate people, to practice at the top of my skill.
Mm-hmm.
And so I truly believe that our problems in Nigeria are going to be solved by Nigerians. Nobody's coming to save us.
Say that again, please, for those in the back.
No one's coming to save us. So yeah. So for me, it was really important to not just talk the talk,
Mm-hmm.
but to walk the walk.
Mm.
So and yes, did I have doubts? Did I have fears? Was I concerned with what
The
was
business
what,
climate.
yes, I had all those concerns, but did I push through those fears? Yes. And am I here to stay? Yes. And I believe that Nigerian patients deserve great care too? Absolutely.